Welcome back everyone, you're watching Ambitious Nature, and today I'm going to be showing you guys all the new updates for timelines. So please hit the like button and subscribe if you would like to see more, and we'll jump right in. Some things have changed in timeline, but we still have some features that remain the same. For instance, anytime you drag a clip over on a blanket timeline, it will automatically create a timeline spot. But you can right click over here and create new bin. And for me, I like to label it and just drag and drop my timelines in here. Anytime that I create a new timeline, it will populate, and I'll show you that in a second. But first, I have to show you this. This is a new tab, so it's still in the same area like it was before. If you don't see that timeline tab, you just want to go over to a workspace and hit reset UI. Everything should go back to normal. So this is how DaVinci Resolve should look like on the basis. Let me zoom back up so you can see it. In this tab, you have a couple new options. Some things that popped up like display subtitle tracks. I don't remember that being there before. Just click timeline, you can create your subtitles from audio. It will automatically do it with AI. Of course, you have your audio wave files, waveforms, which are these right here. If I uncheck this, it will get rid of the waveforms. For me, I like to see exactly where it is. It also helps to sync up audio. You also have your display stack timelines, which if you do not select this, you will never see the option to rename your timeline. So let's go ahead and click this. And now you see right here it says timeline 1. I can name this, if I right click it, I can name this, let's just do first, can't spell today, first draft. So first draft, now I have that timeline in here, and I can choose to close the timeline, which will get rid of it. I can also choose to close other timelines if I had other ones. I can find a timeline within the media pool, and I can also duplicate. So let's say I want to change some things, but I'm not sure how it's going to go, or I don't know if it will destroy my project. I can just right click, hit duplicate timeline. Now I have a first draft copy, and now I can go in and move these things around. And if I don't like this at all, I can just literally go in here and either close out the timeline so it's not visible, or I can go over here and delete it entirely. And you can either click on it and press the backspace or delete, and it should pop up the option to delete, and it will remove it forever. And there it goes. You also have within this tab the ability to see a thumbnail view. So this changes quite a few different things. Film strip gives you the option to kind of see a little bit of what's happening. So as I zoom out, let's go back to this, it will automatically adjust to match with the clip. If I go back to the thumbnail view and hit thumbnail, it should just be the very first beginning of the clip, but you won't see anything else outside of that. If I go back to the thumbnail view again and hit none, it'll just be a blank file. So if you're not seeing anything, just make sure that you have your thumbnail view on film strip. This to me is my favorite thing, because if I ever need to cut and chop across, I don't have to go back and play it on a blank clip. I can actually just click here and see exactly where I need to be cutting. So another cool tip is the view of background. I like to have mine on black just because it looks neat to me. But sometimes if I can't see the file, I'll actually change the checkerboard or gray. What that's doing is you won't see it right here, which is a good thing. And this won't be checked on either, it'll just be blank. But you won't see it at all. If you click on your clip and zoom out, with it being checkerboard, you can see exactly if you're on the frame or not. And of course, if I go back in here, let me change it back to the gray. Now I can see it's gray. So if I need to make sure my clips are aligned, or if I need to make sure it's covering up the entire image, because this is all that will be displayed on the video, that's where you would look for this file. That is your viewer background. So for me, I have it on black, but sometimes it is just very hard to tell. On different monitors, your blacks may blend in. So to me, I honestly think it's better if you have a checkerboard, because at least you can know how close you're getting to the edge. Or you can just do all the way gray. Just depends on if you have a white clip or a grayish clip, then the gray may not work as well. So checkerboard to me is probably the best if you're just not running and gunning. Of course, you have fixed playhead as another option. So as you play the playhead, it will follow. If you notice, DaVinci Resolve at the very bottom of my timeline, it's moving with the playhead. So if I click back here, I no longer have the option to drag and clip each where the playhead is. I can only scroll. So this is better for those that may like your Final Cut edits or Final Cut Pro if you use that platform. This is more of that setup if you're used to editing on there. Of course, I'm not a fan of it, so I can click around and adjust, but that gives you that option there. Another thing is you can display your non-rectified waveform. What that basically means is it will change sort of the orientation. Let me actually make this a little bit larger so you can see. So with the non-rectified off, I believe I have it off. Let me double check. Yeah, with it off, you notice my waveform is at the very bottom. So I can see that it's increasing, and it kind of gives me more room to know where my highs are. But for me, I like to actually have this on because it keeps it in the middle. And I can also see that it is a stereo track just based off of this. And when I increase it, I know just how much I'm getting towards the very edge. Of course, if you do it the other way, let's turn this back off, it'll be at the bottom. And it's sort of similar, but you just see how high it raises. And I don't know why. I just don't like that look. That's just my personal preference. I always have every single video platform I use in the middle. So that's just something that I like to do, but it's totally up to you. You can also choose to display the full waveform, which gives you a little bit more depth. If you notice, it bumped it down a tad bit. So you can see sort of how deep it is. Just meaning like where the levels are. You can see the white bar, which is where you can increase it. You can also see that it is in the middle, letting you know it is still a stereo track. And then of course you can display the waveform border, which I haven't honestly seen do anything. I'm unchecking it and checking it back off. I don't think it's really doing much, but it is there. And then of course you have your video track heights. So this allows you to adjust the video, and this allows you to control the audio. So if you're just editing photos and you're tired of having so many different tracks, all you have to do is just minimize the audio side of it, and now you can see the video. You can increase this larger. If you just want to focus on a particular image, you can make both of them small and only grow the one that you would like to see. That way you can focus in on just that one. So going back to the master tab, you do have more options in here. If you click your timelines, you can actually click on timeline settings. And this is just the right click, sorry. But you can add in a new timeline using selected clips. You can create a multicam using selected clips. You can convert a timeline to a multicam or open a timeline. It just gives you a variety of different options, like disabling it, creating bins. These are all really, really neat. The main settings that I use are typically set inside your timeline settings. If you click on this, it gives you a little bit more options. You have the option to go through your formats. You can go through your monitor. You can do your output, your color. I'm primarily inside of here just because everything else is set up the way I need it to be. But if you uncheck this, this will allow you to customize your project settings. If you notice, I can't do anything if I'm clicking. But if I uncheck this, now I have the option to edit my timeline in 4K and even up to 8K. You also have different options as far as like your full apertures, your DCIs. It just gives you a variety of it. And of course, if you want to edit for your cell phone, just click vertical. And now we set in the vertical resolution. Back here, you can change the settings for your mixed mesh resolution. So if you have a clip that's a different ratio, like maybe a camera took a different still at 6000 or basically 6K versus 4K, you can scale the entire image to fit, which is the best option in my opinion. It just fits within the screen. You can also do center with crop resizing. You kind of get the picture. There's a bunch of settings in here. If you don't like your monitor settings, you can actually output to a higher scale to view it a little bit better. You can change the frame rate of where it's being output to if you're using secondary screen. You also can change your output settings, like your timeline scaling and things of that nature too. And then of course there's color. I always edit in DaVinci YRGB. And then of course you have your Rec 709, which is typically the standard. So don't forget about those as well. One of the last things that will kind of help you out is this tab right here. I believe this is also new. But with your timelines, you have, of course, the options for zooming out. If you press this right here, which is full extent zoom, this will show you everywhere where your clip is. So it will basically place it in the middle of your track right here. If you click on this one, it will zoom in a lot closer. And if you click on this, this goes back to wherever you had set it previously. So these are the three headers right here. If you want to see your entire project line, it's this one. If you want to zoom into playhead and get more detail, that's that one right there. So I'll leave it as this for now. You also have the option to have dual timelines. So let's say, let me duplicate this once more. And to duplicate copy, let me take that away. Let's bring it down here. So now I can see in real time my different copies, and let's actually make this smaller. Now I can adjust these timelines and I can see the difference between the two. So as I'm clicking in here, I know that this is right here. If I click back to the other timeline, it shows me this one. So if you want to edit multiple timelines at once, I believe you can add even more. And this one will close it out. This will add a third one. But you can edit dual timelines at the same time. So if you're working on a similar project to someone else, you have the option. Or if you just want to play it side by side and don't want to keep jumping between tabs. So instead of having your dual timelines like this to go back and forth, you can just add your duplicate and move that down. You have to close this one out first, but you can move it down here. And now you can see that side by side if you have enough real estate. If you would like to shrink this tab right over here to have a longer timeline, all you have to do is go over to the top left of your screen and click shrink. And now you will get rid of this bottom layer. You can do the same thing on the right side if you want to increase the tabs to make this a little bit larger, if you want to adjust your platform a little bit better, your real estate. But for me, I like to have a long editing timeline. This helps, especially if you're working like on a laptop where you have a smaller screen, or if you just want to be more intense and see kind of the full picture without having to keep it so minimized. If your eyesight is not the best, this is the best option as far as shrinking it. Of course, you can always make some adjustments as you go. You can always drag and drop it if you would like to. This gives you a little bit of a larger scale to kind of view it from. And then of course you can click right here and drag it up even higher if you would like to see more, and it will make your screen smaller. And of course right here is your standards, like your playheads, your cuts. This will allow you to change your dynamic trimming. I like to just use mine as the checker. You can swap out clips, you can unclick and do everything else in between, but that's it for the timelines for the most part. These are just some of the new adjustments. Realistically, these are new. These haven't been new, but I feel like these tools are just not used by a lot of people, just if they don't know it or if you're new transitioning over. But of course this helps you out so much. And then for me, one last tip is I just like to have this border on so I can see exactly where my files are. So let me click back on this and let's make that back to 0. But I just like to know exactly where my video is, so that helps me to see it a little bit easier, especially because it merges with this little window, which I can get rid of right here. So that's it for the timelines. This is the newest update. Hopefully there's not any major changes, or if they are, hopefully they're really cool. But I just want to re-update you guys as far as this goes. So if you like this video, please hit the like, subscribe, and I'll be back for the next video. I'll see you guys on the next one.